Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the new Gems of War Mythic of Zilopochtli. This ends up coming in the Glory Gem Guild and VIP chest for this following week, and then it'll be in the drop table with everything else. But if you want to try getting it, this is the best week to be getting it. Otherwise, you're most likely going to have to craft it with 4,000 diamonds into the future, or find it within the event key drop table of whenever a Suncrest Kingdom comes back around. As far as this troop, it is somewhat okay. It's overall going to be towards the more underwhelming side. There's a lot of troops that are already very, very similar to this, and it's probably worth skipping, mostly for that factor, and because the other mythic from this kingdom, Phoenicia, is the better option in comparison to it. Both of them aren't the greatest, but Phoenicia is at least better than this. As far as what it does, it's very similar themed to several mythics that exist in the game, in that it's pretty much dependent on getting a kill to be viable at all. It deals damage to an enemy and then it's boosted by purple gems. So if you have something like 10 purple gems on the board, well, that's 10 additional damage. And if there's a storm, it will deal double. So if there's any storm on the board, doesn't matter what color it is, it'll end up doing double that. So if there's 10 purple on the board, it'll end up doing 20. And of course, that doubles his base damage as well. So if you have 10 purple, or let's say right here, we have 39 base damage and 11 purple on the board, that would be 100 damage that would end up doing. And if it ends up securing a kill, it'll get 12 skulls. There's quite a few things that end up doing 12 skulls. Personally feel like Umberwolf ends up doing that a little bit better. And obviously, Zugov does even better than that, as 100% chance. But as far as things that are a little bit cheaper, Umberwolf is pretty much the superior version compared to this. However, they do use vastly different colors. This is a green, blue, purple, so the type of synergies that it would be used with are a bit different. It does have a weird coloration for its final trait, though. It deals 12 additional damage to a random enemy whenever matching yellow gems. This does synergize slightly with the hero class from the kingdom, and that the hero class makes a perpetual yellow storm, so not only would it have the storm to constantly keep doing double damage off of, but it would also be doing damage every single extra turn, or every single yellow that ends up taking. So you'd be able to get a lot of yellows in there, and even if it's just a 3-match yellow, you'd still get the damage in there. Of course, you'd still want to be aiming for extra turns, but unfortunately, he does not use yellow, so it's kind of like one of those weird mixes that quite a few mythics have been getting lately, where they basically are dependent or have some kind of factor related to another color that isn't actually one of their primary colors that they're using, which is really weird given that they're already using 3 colors. But other than that, his other 2 traits are pretty irrelevant. Putting a def mark whenever you do a skull is very rarely used, especially since he's not really like a skull-oriented troop as far as his actual stats and other traits. And he just has the standard undying trait, which every undead has, which is immune to poison, disease, and def mark. So overall, pretty underwhelming. As far as its damage distribution, this is even worse than some things like Thief Hero class, which puts all the damage onto one single troop, even though it's only 8 damage per extra turn. It's still concentrating all the damage rather than distributing it. And something like a Kraken would almost be better just because of its consistency, because with a 12 random damage, you never know exactly where you're going to hit. It almost reminds me of like a Taloka, just with ever so slightly better damage, because it's just a 2 damage increase, where Taloka does 10 and this thing does 12. So not really that big of a difference there, and overall is probably going to be pretty underwhelming. Definitely below the lower half of Mythics. But anyways, let's go open for this thing. Let's go and show a couple teams. I have 3 teams set up here, which we'll obviously go mess around with once we get Zillo in there. Zilopochtli. So let's go and hopefully find him immediately in keys. Go, luck. Let's just immediately get it. Boom, done. Nope, okay. King Averlon, that's great for quite a few teams these days. Elves are still pretty strong in the meta, mostly because of things like Orb Weaver. Life and Death with Orb Weaver. Still very, very strong. We're getting the mini Life and Death weapon next week as well. The one for Crypt. And I actually have a team that's going to be using it with this mythic as well. Not sure if you'd really bother using it for Purple Day, but I did build a purple team for it that also uses the weapon we get. And there we go. That was actually not that bad. What was that, 240, 300? I'll take it. We still have some keys left, so that's a good sign. Especially since now we have to dump gems into offers now, which could definitely eat your gems up. Be very careful with that. There's a lot of gem-related packs that aren't worth it too, like only 5 gems for the 200 gems. You'd be better off just buying the 50 bulk of gem keys and just go from there. So there's a lot of offers there that you would kind of eat up your gems, and you generally want to be saving your gems, of course, for whenever new mythics come out, as that's one of the main things that you would end up converting your gems into as far as progress within the game. But anyways, we got the troop. Let's go and put Zilopochtli into all of these teams and then go mess with it. Before we do, need to go actually upgrade this thing, and as it is a mythic, we can simply just orb it twice and be good to go, as mythics of course gain the most value from the orbs. So if we're going to be using orbs, might as well be using it on a mythic, since ends up getting the best value out of anything. So there we go. And yeah, let's go and see what this can do. Let's just put these into these 3 teams and then go mess with them. I just use Possess King as a placeholder for where we will be putting these. And then we can go mess around. And I'll be messing around on stream too, but this is mostly just first impressions. Also, this pack has a Medal of Nisha in it now. I think that's still not worth it. That is excessively expensive still. Just for a micro transaction. That is such a small or large micro transaction. But I didn't realize they actually added Medal of Nisha to that. That's interesting. I always say those are 100% pointless. I still feel like it's 100% pointless because that's still expensive. But it's a little bit more enticing, I guess. Anyways, let's actually go and mess with the teams. And, ooh, a little bit of an annoying one right off the bat. Mirror of Reflection, or Reflection of Good. I always call it like something different. But interesting weapon there. We're going to be using the really cheap one first. So hopefully we can get through with this. The spell reduction on Teen is my biggest concern with running this against it right here. That and Queen Beatrix. I guess we'll focus Queen Beatrix first. It doesn't have stealthy or anything. So we'll try writing this down. So we're going to be starting actually in inverse order. Normally I do like the more expensive teams and go to the cheaper teams. But this time we're going to start with cheap and then work our way to mid-range and then to the higher cost teams. Anyways, right here we're just going to go for a little bit of mana there. Unfortunately, 1 mana short. What are you doing? That is very unfortunate there, but luckily we can kind of get things rolling. Of course, we do get to do 12 damage to a random enemy every single time we end up getting a yellow there. Ideally, we want to be hitting on extra turn. However, right now we can actually hit 3 of them, though there is a thing where you can't like multi-obtain anymore. So I think I am actually going to pass on that, just because it's not extra turn alignment. And see if we get anything better here. Unfortunately, it feels like we have even less yellow here. So right here, I do not believe we have enough damage. We can see what our boost ratio is. However, we can't see what our double after that will be. So we can kind of see right here that we're getting 12. And then we can see that it goes to 59. But then we have to do the math of doubling it, which comes out to, what is that, 118? So unfortunately, 118. And the biggest issue with this thing, almost all the time, is going to be, it's not actually going to be in kill range a lot of the time. And that is the case right now as well. So we're kind of just keep cycling our mana. Let Tina kind of poke us. Unfortunately, ooh, a really needed aspect ended up dying there. And it does look like we are going to have the issue of just being out raritied at this point. So we could go for a double poke with this thing at this point, which I guess we kind of end up doing. Just because we don't have too much of another option. We can't really even poke on that because of the reflect there. So we'll go for this for now. If nothing else, we'll go for our double poke. As you can see, that did double the amount of damage, end up doing a 112. Right now, we're mostly just cycling through mana to try to get it up again. But I'm pretty sure he's going to end up winning out here on this particular battle. So we'll do that on brown, even though it's silence, it still counts as a brown, so we still end up getting all that value. Still trying to find those yellows, but of course, Diviner did die, so it loses some of our value there. We're going to try to skull spam him here. Let me just make sure I take every single extra turn off the board. I'll actually grab that. And hey, look at that. We actually do have a 25% chance to summon a Blade Wing whenever we get a kill there. And that ends up coming through pretty nicely. Normally for the cheaper videos, I try not, or for the cheaper teams, I try not to show epics. However, there are categories of epics that are easier to obtain. And one of those categories of epics, there's 2 main categories, Kingdom epics as well as gold ones, the ones that you get for upgrading through gold. Which a couple of them come through, but also faction epics. Faction epics are quite a bit easier to get than normal standard epics. They have to randomly hunt for in keys, and this is one of them. It's from the Stonesong Aerie faction, and pretty good because it constantly keeps creating storms. It ends up counting as a Strix and a Suncrest, so it has that synergy there, in both the fact that this also counts as a Strix and a Suncrest as far as its typing, as well as Undead, of course. And yeah, it's almost like a Strix team in a way. And luckily we got our backup little summon there. It's 20% chance to kill whenever we have a storm, which at this point is probably going to be our saving grace for the most part. The only really bad thing here is I might actually need that as a mana poke, or not a mana poke, but to try to get rid of this barrier. One nice thing about this though is it will hit through barrier if it does hit that 20%, but even if it doesn't, we can go set it up for a kill. So it didn't end up triggering us 20% there. However, what we can go do is go kill it right there, and that'll get that rolling. Is he in one-shot score range? I believe he is. You don't have barrier anymore, do you? Do you have score reduction? No, you do not. That should be a dead. And that is a dead. So now we just need to go cycle our mana again and pretty much be good to go. Unfortunately, the Zilopochtli ended up dying there. However, I think we can still get it through from here. That is one slight issue with this one particular team. All the other ones don't run like this. However, this particular one I did end up running with the Zilopochtli as our only damage source. Generally speaking, you probably want to avoid that, but if you're a newer player, you probably don't have too many damage sources, so if you find like a Zilopochtli, you'd probably just build it around a bunch of mana accumulation, which is essentially what the premise of this team ended up being. Gosh, we might just die to Beatrix just randomly spamming us. But, you get the general point. We'll go move on to the next one next. Oh, hey, wait, we actually gained Barrier. We can technically cheese this all the way. I did use Titan. The main reason I use Titan is because it has a really good comeback mechanic, and with the constant Barrier, you can keep yourself alive. And as you can see, boom, killing it off of pure luck at the end. What a weird battle. Well, obviously, it's meant for early game, and we are trying to use it against a end game team. But anyways, that's pretty much what you would do if you had no other option, if you just find a Zilopochtli in early game, and you just don't have anything to build it with. We didn't really get to show up much in that battle, but of course, Diviner is pretty decent for keeping this team rolling. On a second trait, it keeps getting, it keeps converting all of its HP into magic, which is very beneficial because it has a chance to give all your allies magic, which helps the Zilopochtli end up getting kills a little bit easier, especially since it gets to double that. So if you're getting 20 additional magic like we are right now, that's 40 additional damage, assuming you have the Storm in play. So it ends up buffing it up quite a bit. And also has backup cleanse in case you need it, and has enchant, which can get your mana up on everything, though you're probably going to have enough mana accumulation between Mountain Crusher and Harpy Mage. Also, since it's creating yellow, you also get damage off the yellow spam. Didn't really get to show too much with that team, but it does end up synergizing decently well. Anyways, next thing on our list is a pure undead team. This one, probably not as good, oddly enough. I mostly just wanted to go with a full theme of undead, and even using Necromancer. Necromancer's not that bad of a hero class. I feel like it's a bit underestimated. It does have some potential. Has a few great traits in there. Unfortunately, right here, we did get a freeze. We're going to want to focus on getting Black Manacle quite a bit, as this will be a way to try to get a Devour, and if we can get a Devour down, that's going to be pretty beneficial since we do gain... Oh, we got it. Oh, there we go. Well, the main benefit of a Devour in this particular team is the fact that we will be creating skulls whenever we secure a kill, and that will allow us to get quite a bit more value from whenever he secures a kill, essentially. So right here, I am going to take the skull. That will give us Black Manacle as well, and we'll go throw that down. I'm kind of waiting till we get unfrozen before I throw in a convert. We do have a green to purple convert, which will also give us one enchant. Obviously, it's mostly for the green to purple convert. No Devour there, but we already got the first one, so it's perfectly fine. Mostly just need to wait out this freeze at this point, since we don't have any kind of cleansing mechanism on this particular team, unlike the previous team where we had a little bit of cleanse. Of course, you could set up some metals if you really needed to, if that was being too big a deal. How much loop is he going to get? Did he just infinitely loop us off of that? That is quite loopy, but that is what the goblins normally do. They either die very quickly or they infinite loop you. That is pretty much goblins in a nutshell. Are we seriously going to lose this? We might need to redo this one, just because we're getting trolled by goblins. Is this turn still How is your turn still going? Gosh. Well, watch goblins do goblins. And now we wait. He still hasn't ended his turn. Obviously, we could evade the battle, but this is just too interesting at this point to stop watching him loop. This turn has gone on for like 30 moves. Gosh. Okay, I think he finally ended. Finally! Okay, let's just retreat, obviously. We have lost. Let's go show that again against something that won't infinite loop. Unfortunately... Oh, wait, never mind. You don't have freeze. I always think this thing has freeze on it. It does not. It's great for Blue Storm. It does not actually have freeze, even though it seems like it does. And it would probably be used with stuff that does, since it has Blue Storm, which a lot of blues, of course, have freeze. But it itself doesn't. Okay, so let's try that again. Let's try that again. Anyways, I'll move that over. Oh, he still has Frost Mage, though. Fail. He still has freeze. So where am I going to go for if we have 5 times alignment? It's still worth it. The amount of mana we accumulate is just worth it. Also, other thing that we're running. We are running Umberwolf right now. Umberwolf, one interesting thing that has, of course, is Perpetual Purple Storm. Perpetual Purple Storm is going to be pretty beneficial because this does boost ratio based on how many purple gems are on the board. So obviously, the more purple gems on the board, the more value we'll end up getting in that regard. So right here, I kind of want to see if we have enough to end up killing out his last slot. So how much damage do we have right now? We end up having, even with the boost ratio, we still have to do quite a bit of math. But we have 53, and then that's 106. That should be enough to kill his last slot, which will also kill his first slot, and then we just have to deal with the other 2. And then we go from there. So we'll kill that. Boom. We get 12 skulls, of course. Boom. Unfortunately, it backfires a little bit there. But now we just kind of cycle our mana again, and pretty much be good to go. One other nice benefit of something like an Umberwolf is it does get to place Hunter's Mark. So if we can kind of set that up on the previous turn, we can end up using that for quite a bit of value. Oh, I didn't mean to give him Skull there. I knew he'd get the extra turn. I didn't realize the Skull Cascade. But we can get a little bit of purple here. I'm considering actually going for the Convert. So we are going to go for that. If nothing else to repopulate the board just a little bit there. But yeah, we can basically Umberwolf before we're about to Skull Spam. Kind of like right here, actually. And basically to set up to try to get a better kill. Because now they'll take 2 times damage to our Skull, so that they'll actually die. So right here, we'll just go and end up killing out Hero. And ideally, we'll get our Skull. And as you can see, the 2 times damage from the Hunter's Mark ends up getting us the kill. Of course, he does end up transforming away from something else. But it does still end up working out pretty nice. And other than that, let's go over to Guild War 1. So, this Guild War 1's kind of a... Oh gosh, it's even really a Guild War battle. We're up against the true meta of the game. The really annoying... this was what King Avalon was for, if you were wondering what I was mentioning earlier, though I'm pretty sure most of you are aware of this team. It's something in first slot, followed by Life and Death, Arachnine Weaver, and King Avalon, using Orb Weaver hero class. It is arguably the strongest defend team in the entire game. It can be hard countered. But it is definitely very annoying. Mostly Life and Death makes it annoying. Life and Death, I believe, is available in about a month from now. We're getting a Crypt. We're getting this weapon. This was the weapon I was talking about. It's like the mini Life and Death. It's not as good as Life and Death, but it's very similar themed. It steals life from the 2 weakest enemies, and then summons a random undead. It also has a few good traits, like this 3 mana drain that the Life and Death also has, as well as the fact that it has a, what was the other good one? I knew it had like a second benefit on it. The Bone Storm, which we can actually utilize for our Storm 2 times damage. I'm also using the Stormcaller here, just to kind of do the yellow thing. You could end up doing something safer like Titan or something, but I figured we try it out with Stormcaller and see how it ends up going. What was the other perk on it? I know I had like a second good perk when you upgrade it. It was Bone Storm, Drain... Oh, yeah, it was Drain 3 mana and gain 4 mana. Or it was Drain 3 mana and gain 4 mana. That doesn't mean it gains 7. It's Drain, not Steal. But it gains 4 back, and it gets to remove 3 from the enemy. So it ends up working out pretty decently. Anyways, it's kind of almost like it's stealing it, because it's gaining 4, so theoretically it's kind of like it's stealing the mana, just not directly. Anyways, we'll roll with this. Main thing we want to do, obviously, is get green Seer rolling. This is pure purple, so this is technically Purple Guild War legal, if you were to go and try using it for it. Right here, we are going to go for, of course, yellow. That's probably the main priority we want to go for immediately, ideally to full mana. A little short on it, though. And we do not have a yellow follow-up, which is a little bit unfortunate. Would be very useful to have so. We could try for it off of Sky and just hope we kind of get it. And we did indeed land it, so we can get a really nice convert here, and this should get us rolling. I am using this with Wild Queen. Wild Queen, of course, insanely good for Guild Wars. Also available in Soulforge this week. Highly advised to craft it if you have the diamonds spare. So we'll go for the purple there. That better not die to Death Mark. Luckily, it does not, and now we can just start going crazy. So we go steal this thing's attack. Start getting everything going. Unfortunately, we did miss the turn, but he has 0 attack, so he doesn't really get to retaliate much. We then can go for this again, and obviously once we get that to full mana, we can then go for a kill, and then use that kill to try to get more skulls, and use that in between Wild Queen casts, just to get as much value as we can. I am going to go for one more steal, and the last thing that we can actually target out, and now we can go and target out his last slot, which will hopefully be enough damage. Let's see, how much damage is that? That's 118. Is 118 enough to kill it? It looks like it is, so we'll go for that. We'll end up getting the kill there, and it ends up getting a bunch of skulls, and obviously we have a ton of damage on there. Didn't even need to cast this weapon, it looks like, because I believe 1 skull is enough to kill right there. And then we simply take that skull, and it dies. Pretty standard Wild Queen team. It just happens to use a little bit of a different kind of last slot going for it. But, yeah, it works okay. Not sure if you'd really switch out your Purple Guild War just to bother using this. Maybe next Purple Guild War we'll try it. I'm not sure. It doesn't seem as worth it compared to other options, especially like a Leprechaun or something. I feel like you just get better value out of a Leprechaun just because of how insanely good value Leprechaun is. But nonetheless, it's not that bad. It's definitely not the greatest of Mythics. Overall, I would say this Mythic is still below average. It is, I would say, still worth skipping. I just don't see its viability compared to other options. It's a cool little utility troop. You can have a little bit of fun with it. But I overall do not see this thing really being particularly meta or particularly viable. Its 12 damage, I feel like, almost never really comes into play that it has, especially given that it's on yellow, so you have to build really weirdly around it to actually be able to utilize it much. Because like a lot of these battles, like for example this team, we're almost never taking yellow. We'll be taking a lot of green, and we might be taking a little bit of purple here and there. But, and a little bit of yellow. I guess we're taking a little bit of yellow initially to get things started. But other than that, we are very, very rarely, once we get the first green Seer going, taking any yellow off the board. So, I don't know. It's just really clunky to try to use all of his aspects correctly. and there's currently almost like no team that really like fits it in perfectly. There might be into the future, of course, but as it currently stands, I would probably say skip on this. The only other instance where you might not skip on this is if you still need to get Suncrest to 10 plus stars, which reminds me, I don't even think I claimed a star right now. This troop does allow you to get to 15 stars, which I guess is one benefit of it, if nothing else. I don't think the 15-star benefit was anything too good, but yeah, we do end up getting, what was that from it? We get 1,000 more gold per day. Woohoo! It's obviously not much. Tribute chance is like the main other thing we'd kind of want here until we eventually get the power. But I mean, until we eventually get the new stat extra, which is going to be ages from now. But yeah, if you still need a Suncrest Mythic to get this to 10 plus, it might be worth considering because you'd have to go out of your way to get a Phoenicia and spend 4,000 diamonds otherwise. Though you could also wait for event keys and try using that for the for either or and kind of do it that way. But I would have to say overall, Phoenicia is a much better troop to have in your arsenal than that of the Zilopochtli. So if you had to choose between one or the other, if you're looking for a something to get to 10 star here, I would probably consider going Phoenicia instead, as this thing is, I don't know, it's just not really going to come into play much. And there's already other mythics that already have overlap to what it basically does. So definitely worth considering skipping out on this mythic and save your resources for other things. But if you have more than half the mythics in the game, probably still worth going for anyways. And what else? If nothing else, you get a star on the Suncrest. But anyways, guys, I will catch all of you later. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave in the comment section below. We will be streaming this mythic probably a little bit more on stream, though, of course, we'll mostly be going over the new faction that ended up coming out today. So we'll be doing that on stream today, tomorrow, and next few days. And do keep in mind, you do have an entire week to still go get this, so if you want to go open keys on Monday, once you get all those from the guild on Monday, Tuesday, and all that, you have all the way until the end of Thursday on Friday reset time of next week to go and get this mythic easily. Otherwise, the only way you're really going to get it is off of event keys off the Suncrest event or off of 4,000 diamonds on Soulforge, and I would highly advise not spending 4,000 diamonds on this thing compared to other options that exist within the game. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye, everyone!